Welcome back to the Real Screeners, everyone. And our real take today is going to be looking at Shadow and Bone, the epic fantasy romance hit on Netflix, which as of this recording is number 4, but it's been as high as number 1. But before we get started with our review, I do want to ask for your support by following us on social media. On Instagram, we're at real.screeners, and on TikTok and Facebook, we're at Real Screeners. And of course, as we always ask, guys, please consider subscribing if you like our reviews, like it, share it, and of course hit that notifications bell so that you'll know every time we upload a video.
And we also want to remind you about our online store, realscreeners.com, where you can find a variety of merchandise, waist-up apparel, t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, mugs, you name it. And our designs, of course, are concentrated on entertainment, lifestyle, movie-related stuff. So check that out for sure.
Fun.
And also, we want to quickly mention our sponsor for this video, Wine Attitude. They're located at Sunland Park Mall here in El Paso, Texas, and we want to just throw a shout out to them. They have a great selection of wine and also great events centering around wine pairing and other, events. So
great wine
definitely
tasting.
go check them out. Yep. Shadow and Bone is based on the Grisha trilogy by Lee Bardugo, and it centers around a female character named Alina Starkov. Basically, she is your epic hero. It is discovered early on in the show that she possesses a power that is rare and significant and important, and she is the key to basically getting rid of darkness and evil in the world. Obviously, like many epic fantasies, one of the main conflicts involves light versus darkness. It's like the prevalent archetype in this show, of course.
Seen that before.
We've never seen that before. And this, of course, also becomes a coming of age story because the characters are fairly young, discovering things about themselves and also discovering their powers, because this story focuses on people that have special gifts, and they're called Grisha. So let's start off by talking about the characters, shall we?
I will let you know that I thought the interaction between Alina and General Kerrigan was, woo, man, if you love romance, this is for you. I tell you that, because not just the dialogue, but you had mentioned over and over to me before this, the stares, the face-to-face.
The intense close-ups of the actors' faces, staring into each, gazing into each other's faces.
And to their credit, there is a certain level, obviously, of acting that you have to put to make that convincing to get that going.
Yeah, so the show feels kind of Twilight-ish in that regard. And I think that it definitely appeals to that audience who is interested in a more, young adult epic fantasy romance type of,
lots of
fare.
Romance. Yes.
There's lots of romance to be had. There's a lot of like star-crossed lovers theme in this show, from the Alina and Mal and Lord or General Kerrigan character to the characters, of course, of Nina the Grisha and Matthias the Druskel, who belong to enemy clans, if you will, or enemy groups.
Opposite side of the track, so to speak. Again, like you said, a lot of romance tropes in the show where you get a lot of opposites attracting.
I think it's a little heavy-handed, but I also recognize that some people love that stuff. So
there absolutely is an audience for that, but it is not for my palate.
Yeah, it's a little too much. It's a little too much. It's a little too much. It just felt a little, overdone in that regard for me.
But going back to the acting, I will say that I thought the acting was pretty convincing.
Overall, it was.
Generally speaking, right?
It's just unfortunate that Alina and who is the main character, or the character that the show focuses on, for me was not the most memorable.
Right,
really,
that's such a good point, man. Because I
just felt like there were other characters that were a lot more colorful and interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You mentioned that, right? I'm thinking of Kaz. He was the guy with the cane.
Right. Kaz Brecker.
Right. Played very well by Freddie Carter. Always looking like this.
Yeah, like
but it wasn't overdone though.
Yeah, like always with a purpose and always trying to figure out something, and at the end of the day, he seems to be like he seems to have a moral compass, even though there's like a gray area.
See, and that's
kind of to his character.
He had many layers. He was a thinker. He did care about his friends. Obviously, you could tell there's some I wouldn't really say romantic tension, but he does obviously need, as he says, Inej.
Right.
In this, but what I liked what they did with him is that they didn't make it too obvious.
Right.
A lot of it was implied. They showed you a lot, and that's good storytelling.
Yeah, I actually thought that, the trio that is Kaz Brecker and Inej and Jesper were the more quirky, comical, interesting, shrewd characters in the entire show. And I remember them the most. And I really appreciated how they really serve a role and a purpose through the end. Obviously trying to keep it spoiler free here.
Right. And of course, they don't overdo the romance aspect with them. So I guess for me, that's why I kind of levitated to them as well. Now, you had mentioned, I think her name was Bakra.
Yeah, Bakra was the wise mentor for Alina when she begins her training, which, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I really wish they would have spent more time on the training and on actually showing you like how she learns these skills that she's going to need, as she's coming of age and learning. But they really kind of glean over that. Again, focus a little bit too much on the romance stuff.
Don't you know this is a show about a love triangle?
I just feel like if you're gonna
that makes sense.
if you're gonna present a mentor, a wise mentor role, and by the way, Bagra, played by Zoe Wanamaker, she, I feel, is tailor made as a mentor.
Right. No, she knocked it out the park.
She was really good in that show.
Staying with characters, I do want to mention Mal. I found him very one-dimensional. Acting was good.
Very much like Jacob in Twilight.
Exactly.
By the way,
like there are a lot of parallels you can draw between these two franchises. But no, very one dimensional. Like he was always driven. And I get like for their target audience, that's probably what they want. But for me, watching it, as an outsider, not really my genre, I was like, okay, well, can you layer him a little bit more? What else does he have?
Agreed.
Just like, I will tear down any wall, I will go through any building to get to Alina.
So I want to be fair and kind of recognize some of the themes that are prominent in the show that I actually enjoyed. So of course there's the allegiance of true friendship, which I think is prominent throughout the show. There's a lot of teamwork makes the dream work in this show, if you will. And I also appreciated with specifically the relationship with the mentor and Alina, that kind of like Star Wars Jedi theme of you have to let go and of attachments or emotional attachments to people because they can weigh you down and get in the way of you progressing, and so I appreciated that with the Alina arc as she got stronger and garnered her powers.
But I kind of felt like that turned so fast.
It did.
All the build up.
It wasn't. It wasn't fleshed out as much as it should have been, or it could have been. It was quickly turned around. You do have a point there.
There's another part where, obviously we're dropping some mini spoilers here, but, there's a point where she kind of like takes that next step toward another man. And I was just like, wow, that was fast. And she's the one to initiate it. I did not expect that because of how they built her up with her relationship with Mal.
Yes. And even though the show has like the staple, tones of an epic series, such as, betrayal and secrets and lies, much a la Game of Thrones in that regard, although I don't think
please don't mention
Game of Thrones. Although I don't, I don't think that this show really has a lot of connections to Game of Thrones at all.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Even though some people are comparing it online to Game of Thrones, not really. I was disappointed with this whole concept of the fold. This whole show centers around the fold.
Right.
Well,
they didn't fold it
into the story very well because I really wanted to see more of what was inside of the fold. And I was hoping that towards the climactic ending that we would get to see more of what is in there, the darkness and what is found within. That's true, yeah. And I was really craving a more just action-filled and exciting finale, and it just did not come for me.
They wasted that part of it. I agree with you because that fold was so ripe. The darkness was so ripe for all this mysticism. And they're so scared of it, obviously, because of the Fulcra or...
The Volcra, yeah.
Volcra, sorry. Volcra. And so, but again...
No more creatures!
Not the focus of this.
We're totally spoiling the show, so there's going to be a spoiler-filled show.
But I will say, I really enjoyed the world building in this. This definitely has that epic novel feel. Obviously, it's part of the trilogy, so I thought that the conflict generally was cool and compelling. They could have done more with it. As far as the pacing, I thought it was relatively slow the first couple episodes. It wasn't until maybe the 5th or 6th episode where I kind of felt like, okay, the plot's finally moving along.
Oh man,
you got me.
When I got to that 5th episode, I was like, oh, please get going, get going. And then you're right. And then it finally did get going a little bit more. The last thing that I have really is the final shot. The very final shot.
Oh, you mean
when said character appears,
right?
I really, really hope, because the ending felt so predictable. Like everything played out almost like I would imagine it would have played out with the characters and where they end up. And the final shot involves this one character. And I just hope that moving forward, if there is a second season, which I think there will be, that they do something interesting with that character and different. And that is all I'm going to say about that. There is a hair on my microphone.
I will say again that not my cup of tea, but I know there's an audience out there for it. So I'm going to actually give 2 ratings. Okay. My rating on how much I enjoyed it would honestly be only about a 2.5 out of 5 reels.
Okay.
I found myself forcing myself to finish
it.
I'll be honest.
That's totally understandable.
But for those of you who have not seen this and are into like epic fantasy or romance novels, that type of thing, I would say this is a solid 4 out of 5 reels. If you're an Uber fan and you like, for example, like an Uber Twilight fan, maybe bump it up to 4.5 reels out of 5. But it's definitely something to watch if you like that.
I would agree with that, Lenny. That's really good. But I do think that the show is very stylish and it does create its own world. Wish they would have expanded a little bit more on certain things, but because of those reasons, I would personally give it, as far as a personal rating, I would give it a 3 out of 5 reels.
We do want to thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate all the support we can get, and definitely let us know in the comments down below what you thought of this series, what you thought of our review. Whatever you want to say, we'll definitely get back to you.
Yes, and look us up on social media, of course. We're at TikTok and Facebook at Real Screeners and Instagram, real.screeners. And, of course, Wine Attitude, our sponsor. Don't forget about them. And our website, realscreeners.com. Check out our merchandise.
Super cool stuff, guys.
Yes, super cool. And stay tuned next time for our real take on movies and TV shows.